There are only two sections left inside the single template that are static. Those two sections are the author info box and the related post section. Let's tackle the author box first. This lecture will be rather short. To start things off, I'm going to replace the name with the author function, which will output the name of the author. For the URL, we can simply echo the variable author URL, which already contains the URL to the author profile. Nothing really new so far. I'm going to save the image for last. Let's skip onto the author description, which is fairly simple. We're going to echo out the function getTheAuthorMeta, which will grab a specific value that we can decide. In the resource section, I provide a link to the author meta function. As I stated earlier, WordPress has a tendency to name their functions like this. The get version returns the value, while the non-get version will echo out the value. The reason we want the value returned is because we want to format it. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. Let's look at the possible values we can pass in. If you look through this list, you'll eventually find something along the lines of description. This is exactly what we want, so I'll input that now. Make sure this is echoed out onto the page. I'm going to refresh the page and we get exactly what we wanted. If you don't see a description, then chances are the user doesn't have one. In that case, go to the admin dashboard and update the user's bio. The user bio doesn't exactly have a limit. If the user had a long bio, then this box can become unreadable. The best way to approach this is to format it. I'm going to wrap my function with another function called NL2BR. This is a PHP-specific function that will convert new lines to BR HTML tags. Refresh the page one more time and you should see the description neatly formatted. This is great. Now, you may be wondering, why are we using the get version instead of the non-get version of this function? Well, it's quite simple. A value that is echoed out cannot be manipulated easily. When you want to make modifications to a value, then you'll want to call a function that returns a value rather than output it. This is specific to PHP in general and not WordPress. There is a way to grab values that are already echoed out, but we'll take a look into that later. The very last thing to do is to display the user's avatar. This is easy to pull off. It's done by echoing out the getAvatar function. This is nothing new. You've used it before when we worked on comments. Unlike last time, we'll be using all the parameters as I want to apply a class to this avatar. In the resource section, I provide a link to this function. The very first thing we have to pass in is an ID, email, or a comment object. Any of these three are perfectly fine. We already have the author ID, so we can just pass that in like so. The second parameter is the size. I'm going to pass in 90. The third parameter is the URL to a default avatar image if one isn't available. WordPress already provides one that's just fine with us, so you can pass in an empty string. The fourth parameter is the text to display in the alt attribute. I'm going to set this as false since I don't care much for that attribute. The final parameter is an array of other values we can set which are completely optional. I'm going to pass in an array with a key of class and its value will be img-circle, which will make the avatar circular. That's it. Refresh the page and see if everything works. We're almost done. The very last thing is this related posts section.